I still remember the day I handed my little brother that check. $73,500 written in my neat cursive, the ink still wet as my heart whispered, "You can trust him, Maya. He's family." He hugged me so tight I could feel his heartbeat racing. "I swear, sis," Darnell said, eyes shining with promise, "6 months from now, I'll make you proud. You won't regret this." But the truth, 6 months later, I couldn't even reach his phone. Back then, I was 48, a medical billing clerk at St. Francis Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd been working double shifts for 11 straight years, raising my son Malik alone after his father walked out. Every dollar I'd saved came from sacrifice. Nights skipping dinners, canceling vacations, ignoring birthdays just to build a future. That money was supposed to be my safety net, maybe even Malik's college fund. But when Darnell showed up one humid Sunday afternoon wearing a wrinkled dress shirt and that guilty smile I'd known since childhood, my heart softened. He was my baby brother, the one I raised after Mama died, the one who used to cry in my arms when Daddy left. "Maya," he said, sitting on my porch swing, twisting his cap in his hands, "I got a chance to start something real. Not some side hustle, a business, sis. A trucking company. I just need a little help getting started." I frowned. "How little?" He looked down. 73.5. I almost laughed. "That's not little, Darnell. That's my everything." But he leaned in, eyes glistening with sincerity. "I already got a partner lined up. I just need to buy one truck and pay insurance up front. I'll pay you back in 6 months with interest. Maya, you'll finally get a break." Those words, "you'll finally get a break," hit me hard. I'd been drowning in bills, exhaustion, and loneliness. Maybe this was God's way of giving me a chance to help my brother and change my own life. So I withdrew the money, all of it, from my savings account. I even watched the bank teller look at me funny, as if she wanted to ask, "Are you sure?" I was sure. For a few weeks after, things seemed good. Darnell sent me photos of trucks, invoices, business cards with his name, Darnell Thompson. Hauling LLC. He sounded confident, proud, even grateful. I told everyone at work, my brother's finally turning his life around. Then the call slowed. His texts came shorter, then they stopped. By month 3, his number went straight to voicemail. By month 4, his apartment was empty. By month 6, my world began to crumble. One Friday evening, I came home from work and found an envelope taped to my door, a foreclosure notice. Turns out, in order to fund Darnell's loan, I'd refinanced my home with a loan officer he recommended. Only now, payments had skyrocketed and I was months behind. I called him again. No answer. I called his girlfriend. Disconnected. I even called his old job. They said he'd quit weeks ago. That night, I sat in my car in the driveway, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Malik knocked on the window, scared. "Mama? What's wrong?" I lied through my teeth. "Nothing, baby. Mama's just tired." But inside, I was breaking. I felt stupid, used, and hollow. I thought about calling the police, but how do you report your own brother? What do you even say? He stole my life savings because I trusted him. The shame was unbearable. Every time someone asked about Darnell, I changed the subject. Even in church, when Pastor Williams preached about forgiveness, I felt my stomach turn. But the worst came a few weeks later, when I learned the truth about where that $73,500 really went. It wasn't a trucking business. It wasn't even Darnell's dream. It was something darker, something that made my knees buckle when I found out. And that's when I realized betrayal from a stranger hurts, but betrayal from blood, it changes who you are forever. I didn't sleep for days after that foreclosure notice. My eyes burned, my head pounded, and my spirit felt like it had been wrung dry. Every morning, I sat at the kitchen table staring at that crumpled paper, the words "final warning" screaming louder than my thoughts. Malik noticed I wasn't eating much. He'd ask, "Mama, you okay?" And I'd smile like a liar. I didn't have the strength to tell him that the roof over our heads was no longer ours, that the brother I once protected had stripped us of everything I'd built from scratch. A week later, I decided I couldn't just sit in silence anymore. I had to find Darnell. I started by visiting the address listed on his so-called business registration. It was supposed to be his trucking office, Suite 12B, Charlotte Business Center. When I got there, it wasn't an office at all. It was a dusty storage room with a broken chair and peeling paint. The woman at the front desk gave me a puzzled look when I asked about Darnell Thompson hauling. "Honey," she said, sliding her glasses down her nose, "ain't no trucking company ever been here. This place has been empty for months." My stomach dropped. I stepped outside, the afternoon sun too bright, the air too heavy. I called his number again. Disconnected. I texted him one last time. "Darnell, if you don't call me back, I'm filing a police report." No reply. The next day, I went to see Renee, his ex-girlfriend. She lived in a shabby apartment complex off West Boulevard. When she opened the door, she looked surprised and scared. "Maya," she whispered, "what are you doing here? I need to find Darnell." Her face went pale. She didn't hear? What here? She hesitated, chewing her lip. "He's in Atlanta." "Atlanta? Doing what?" She lowered her voice. "Running with some folks he shouldn't be. They're scamming people. Fake business loans, fake trucking contracts, fake everything. I tried to warn him, but he wouldn't listen." It felt like someone punched me in the chest. "So the trucking company doesn't exist," she said softly. "He used your money to pay off gambling debts, then invested the rest with some man named Calvin who promised to double it. That's what he told me before he left." My knees buckled. I gripped the wall to keep from collapsing. My brother, the boy I fed when we were kids, the man I loaned my life savings to, had used me to pay for his sins. I couldn't even speak. Renee just looked at me with pity, her eyes wet. "I'm sorry, Maya. He's not the same person anymore." I walked back to my car, numb. My hands shook so hard I could barely start the engine. My mind kept replaying it over and over. Gambling debts, fake business, Atlanta. By the time I got home, my chest felt tight. I opened my laptop and typed his name into Facebook. Nothing. I searched Instagram. Nothing. Then I found a tagged photo. Darnell standing beside a sleek black Cadillac, holding stacks of cash with a caption, "Blessed life, grind never stops." I wanted to throw my laptop across the room. The comments under the post made it worse. "That truck biz paying off, huh, bro? Come through ALT, we got your next play. Man, D out here living good." My heart shattered. My brother was flaunting my sacrifice, parading around like he'd earned something when he'd only stolen it. That night, I sat alone in the dark, clutching Mama's old Bible. I turned to a verse she used to quote, "Be sure your sin will find you out." And I whispered into the emptiness, "I'll make sure it does." I spent the next few days researching. I found Calvin's name in a few sketchy Facebook groups, people calling him a scam artist, warning others to stay away. One woman even posted that her husband lost $40,000 to him. My stomach turned. Darnell had fallen into the hands of a professional con man. Or maybe he wasn't just a victim. Maybe he was part of it. The idea burned through me all night. I couldn't shake it. So I called Detective Harris, a local fraud investigator who'd once come to our church to talk about financial scams. I told him everything. He listened quietly, then said, "Ma'am, I can open a case, but you need to understand, when it's family, this gets messy. Are you prepared for that?" I hesitated. "I don't care how messy it gets. I just want the truth." He agreed to meet me at the precinct the next morning. Before bed, I looked at a framed photo on my dresser. Me and Darnell at Mama's funeral 10 years ago. His arm around me, both of us crying. I touched his face in the picture and whispered, "How could you do this to me?" Then, as if God wanted to test my heart, I received a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking for him, Maya. You don't want trouble. My breath caught. I stared at the screen frozen. The message disappeared seconds later, as if it had never been there. But the damage was done. That was the night I realized this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about danger, and maybe even survival. The moment that text disappeared from my phone screen, my entire body went cold. Stop looking for him, Maya. You don't want trouble. Those words replayed in my head like an echo that wouldn't fade. I stared at my phone, hoping I'd imagined it, that maybe it was some kind of glitch. But deep down, I knew someone was watching. Someone knew exactly what I was doing. I locked all the doors, shut every curtain, and sat on the edge of my bed, clutching my phone like a weapon. My mind raced. Who would send that message? Was it Darnell or this Calvin person Renee mentioned? Either way, they were trying to scare me, and it was working. I barely slept. Every noise outside made my heart jump. By morning, I felt like a ghost, pacing through my house with coffee I couldn't drink. Malik noticed. "Mama," he said, standing in the doorway, "you've been acting weird. What's going on?" I forced a smile. "It's nothing, baby. Just money stuff." He frowned. "Is it Uncle Darnell?" The sound of that name nearly cracked me in half. "Don't worry about him, Malik," I said softly. "Worry about school." But even as I said it, I knew my son was smarter than I gave him credit for. He could feel the tension in the air. He could see the way my hands trembled every time the phone buzzed. That afternoon, I kept my appointment with Detective Harris at the Charlotte precinct. He was a tall, calm man with kind eyes, the type that made you feel safe even when your world was falling apart. He listened as I explained everything: the $73,500, the fake trucking business, the fake office, the gambling debts, and now the threatening text. When I finished, he sighed and leaned back in his chair. "Mrs. Thompson," he said carefully, "it sounds like your brother got mixed up in a scam ring. We've had reports of similar operations, usually targeting investors or family loans." I frowned. "But he's not the type to hurt people." He raised an eyebrow. "People change when they're desperate, and based on what you've told me, your brother might be deeper in this than you think." He asked for copies of my bank statements, the loan paperwork, and the foreclosure notice. I handed them over, my fingers trembling. "Can you find him?" I asked. He said, "We'll try, but if these men are dangerous, I need you to be careful. Don't contact anyone connected to him again." I nodded, though my chest ached with guilt. I wasn't just scared for myself, I was scared for Darnell. What if these men were using him? What if he'd gotten trapped in something he couldn't escape? When I got home, the house felt different. The air was heavy, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I locked the door and turned on the porch light. For the first time, my little house didn't feel like home. It felt like a target. Later that night, I sat at the kitchen table scrolling through social media again. I typed Calvin trucking scam into the search bar. Dozens of posts popped up. Angry people, screenshots, stories that mirrored mine almost exactly. One caught my attention. "If anyone knows a man named Darnell Thompson working with Calvin J., message me ASAP. He owes us money." My heart stopped. It wasn't just me. My brother had taken money from multiple people. I messaged the woman immediately. "Hi, I'm Maya. I'm his sister. What happened?" She responded minutes later. "He took $12,000 from my husband for a fake trucking investment. They were promising double returns. Haven't heard from either of them in months." Another message came in from a different user. "We filed a report. FBI might be looking into it. Be careful. Those men don't play." My stomach twisted. I wanted to throw up. Before I could respond, I heard a faint sound outside, like tires crunching on gravel. I froze. My porch light flickered. Through the blinds, I saw a dark SUV idling across the street. No one got out. No one moved, just sat there. My heart pounded in my chest. I turned off the lights, crouched low, and called 911. "There's a suspicious vehicle outside my house. I think someone's watching me." The dispatcher told me to stay inside until officers arrived. But by the time they pulled up, 15 minutes later, the SUV was gone. The officers checked around, took my statement, and left. They said it was nothing, but I knew better. That night, I lay awake in bed, clutching Malik's old baseball bat. Every creak, Every gust of wind sounded like footsteps. I prayed harder than I ever had before. Lord, please protect me and my boy. Please keep us safe. And the days that followed, I barely left the house. My savings were gone, the bills were piling up, and my job at St. Francis was on the line after too many missed shifts. My supervisor called one morning. Maya, I know you're going through something, but if you don't come back soon, I'll have to let you go. I promised I'd return on Monday. I hung up and cried until my throat burned. That same afternoon, I got another text, this time from a new number. You think the cops can help you? You better stop or you'll regret it. My phone slipped from my hand. This wasn't just about Darnell anymore. Whoever these people were, they wanted to keep me quiet. I went to my bedroom, pulled out my mother's old photo box, and found one picture I hadn't looked at in years. Me, Darnell, and Malik at the county fair. We looked so happy, so innocent. I touched the photo and whispered, I don't know who you are anymore, little brother, but I'm gonna find you, even if it destroys me. Because the thing about betrayal is once it breaks you, it also builds something new inside you. And I could feel it rising, something strong, something unyielding, something ready for a fight. But I had no idea the next time I saw Darnell, he wouldn't be standing on his own 2 feet. 3 days after that second threat, I was standing in the break room at work when my phone rang, unknown number. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something in my gut told me to pick up. Hello? A man's voice came through, low and serious. Is this Maya Thompson? Yes. Who's calling? This is Detective Harris. We've located your brother. The paper cup in my hand slipped, coffee spilling down my scrubs. What? He's at Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta. He's alive, but you might want to come see him. He asked for you. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The world spun. My brother, the same man I'd been cursing and crying over for months, was lying in a hospital bed, asking for me. When can I see him? I whispered. As soon as you can get here, Harris said. But Mrs. Thompson, be prepared. He's in rough shape. The drive to Atlanta took 5 hours, but it felt like 50. My hands gripped the steering wheel the whole way, knuckles white, mind spiraling between rage and worry. I didn't know what I'd say when I saw him. I didn't even know if I wanted to forgive him, but I had to see for myself. When I walked into the hospital, the smell of antiseptic and the sound of beeping monitors hit me like a wall. A nurse led me to his room, room 318. I hesitated at the door before stepping inside, and there he was, Darnell, my baby brother, lying in a hospital bed with tubes in his arms, bruises across his face, his leg in a cast. His once bright eyes looked sunken and hollow. Darnell? I whispered. He turned his head slowly, eyes glassy. Maya? His voice cracked like a child's. I froze, my heart caught between pity and fury. What happened to you? He blinked back tears. They jumped me. Calvin's people. Said I owed them money. Said you called the cops. That I snitched. His words sliced through me. You put me in danger, Darnell. You took my money, my savings. You lied to me. To Malik, to everyone. He winced. I know, I messed up. I thought I could fix it before you found out. Fix it? My voice cracked. You stole $73,000, Darnell. You used my name on fake loan forms. You got me facing foreclosure. How do you fix that? He looked away, ashamed. I thought the trucking deal was real. Calvin promised we'd both make money, but it was a setup. When I couldn't pay him back, he took everything. He's dangerous, Maya. You need to stop looking. I felt tears burn behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I already stopped looking. You're the one who dragged me into this mess. He sighed weakly. I'm sorry, sis. I swear, I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted to give us both something better. I was tired of being broke, tired of feeling like a failure. I looked at him, the broken man lying there, and for a moment I saw the scared little boy Mama used to hold at night after Daddy left, the boy I used to read bedtime stories to. But then I remembered the foreclosure notice taped to my door, the sleepless nights, the threats. You didn't just hurt me, I whispered. You destroyed me. He closed his eyes, a single tear sliding down his cheek. I know. Silence filled the room, heavy, suffocating. The machines beeped steadily between us. After a few minutes, Detective Harris stepped in. He nodded at me respectfully. Mrs. Thompson? Good to see you made it safely. We've spoken with your brother. He's agreed to cooperate. Cooperate? I asked. Harris looked at Darnell. He's turning evidence against Calvin's operation in exchange for protection. I turned to Darnell. Protection from what? He swallowed hard. They said if I cocked, they'd come after family. My stomach dropped. What? Harris placed a hand on my shoulder. Ma'am, I need you to stay somewhere safe for a few days. We're coordinating with Atlanta PD, but these people don't play around. I nodded slowly, numb. After Harris left, Darnell reached for my hand. Maya, please, don't hate me. I hesitated, then took his hand, if only because I didn't have the strength to let go. I don't hate you, Darnell, but I can't protect you from what you've done. He nodded weakly. I understand. As I stood to leave, he whispered, be careful. Calvin's not done. I turned back, but before I could respond, a nurse rushed in. Ma'am, we need to run some tests. Please meet outside. I stepped into the hallway. Heart pounding, I leaned against the wall, fighting the storm in my chest. And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw him, a man in a black hoodie standing at the end of the corridor, watching me. He didn't move, just stared. When I blinked, he was gone. But the chill that ran down my spine told me one thing for sure. Darnell was right. This wasn't over. Not even close. When I got back home from Atlanta, I felt like I was carrying two kinds of weight. One in my chest and one in my soul. For the first time in months, I knew my brother was alive, but that comfort came tangled with fear because the people he owed weren't gone. And if they couldn't get to him, they'd come for me. That night, I locked every window and door, pulled the curtains, double-checked the deadbolt, even slept with my phone in my hand, flashlight on, sound up. Every little noise made me jump. The next morning, I called the bank. The woman on the line told me they were still processing the foreclosure, but that my account activity had been flagged for review because of recent large transactions. What transactions? I asked, confused. She paused. A $7,000 wire transfer came in yesterday from an account linked to a Calvin Brooks. My heart dropped. Calvin Brooks, Darnell's so-called business partner. Can you tell me where it came from? I asked, voice shaking. I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't disclose that information. But the transfer was marked partial refund. Refund from a criminal. That wasn't kindness. That was a message. After I hung up, I stared at the wall for what felt like an hour. It was like being pulled into a game I didn't even agree to play. That evening, I called Detective Harris. He sounded tense. You got a wire from Calvin Brooks? That's not a good sign, Mrs. Thompson. It means they're watching your accounts, maybe your movements. Why would he send money back? To make you feel safe. Then he gets closer. I swallowed hard. So what do? Stay alert. And if anyone comes near your house, don't answer. Call me first. By 8 p.m., the house was silent. The only light came from the old lamp in the living room. I sat there holding my mug of chamomile tea like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. Malik called. Hey, Ma, you okay? I forced a smile into my voice. Yeah, baby. Just tired. I've been thinking maybe you should come stay with me for a few weeks, just till everything cools down. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But pride's a funny thing. Even when it's bruised, it stands tall. I'll be fine, sweetheart. Don't you worry about me. He sighed. You always say that, but you don't always mean it. I smiled faintly. I'll be careful, promise. We hung up, and I sat there staring at the front door. At exactly 10:37 p.m., I heard it knock. Soft, slow, deliberate. Every hair on my neck stood up. Another knock. I froze. My hand gripped the phone. My heartbeat echoed in my ears. I peeked through the blinds. No car in the driveway, just the dark, empty street. Third knock, louder this time. I dialed Detective Harris's number, whispering, "Someone's outside." He said, "Stay on the line. Do not open the door." Okay. He asked me to describe what I heard. I told him it was just knocking, steady, spaced out, then silence for almost a full minute until Maya, my name, whispered through the door. I froze. My stomach turned. That voice? It wasn't deep like Darnell's. It was colder, more confident. "Who's there?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Just a friend of your brother's," the voice said softly. "He wanted me to make sure you were okay." "Leave," I said quickly. "You're not welcome here." The voice chuckled. "You're braver than he said." "That's good. You'll need that."
then footsteps, slowly fading. I didn't move until I heard Harris's voice again. "Ma'am, officers are en route. Stay where you are." It took them 10 minutes to arrive, but it felt like 10 hours. When they searched the porch, they found nothing. No footprints, no vehicle marks, not even a cigarette butt. Whoever that man was, he knew how to disappear. Harris called me later that night. "We'll keep an eye on you, but you need to stay with someone you trust for now." By morning, I packed a small bag and drove to Malik's apartment across town. He didn't ask many questions, just hugged me tight when I walked through the door. For a moment, I felt safe, but only for a moment, because as I set my bag down, my phone buzzed with a new message. "Unknown number. You shouldn't have gone to the hospital, Maya." My hands went cold. Another message followed. "We told him not to talk." Then a picture. It was Darnell, lying in his hospital bed, eyes closed, machines around him, and in the corner of the frame, a man's shadow holding a phone. I dropped my phone, my heart screaming silently inside me. Someone was inside that hospital room, watching my brother, watching me.
The moment I saw that picture, my body turned to ice. My first thought wasn't fear, it was denial. It can't be real, I told myself. Maybe it was an old photo. Maybe someone was trying to scare me. But the timestamp said 6:42 a.m. That was today, and I hadn't told anyone I went to see Darnell. I called Detective Harris immediately. My voice shook so hard it didn't even sound like me. "They sent me a picture," I said, clutching the phone to my ear, "of my brother in the hospital. Someone's in his room." He told me not to move, that he'd send a patrol car to Malik's apartment, but I couldn't just sit there. My baby was asleep on the couch, trusting me to keep him safe. And my brother, as much as he'd hurt me, was still my blood. I grabbed my keys. "Mama, where are you going?" Malik asked, rubbing his eyes as he woke up. "Nowhere you need to be worried about," I said softly, trying to steady my voice. "Lock the door behind me, okay?" He frowned. "You promised you'd stay. I'll be back before you know it. I just have to see something through." He stood, blocking the door for a second. "You're scaring me, Ma." I looked at him, tall, protective, his father's eyes staring into mine. For a moment, I saw the little boy he used to be. Crying when he scraped his knee, my throat tightened. "I'll be fine," I whispered. "Trust me, baby." I kissed his forehead, walked out, and didn't look back. The drive from Birmingham to Atlanta felt longer than ever. Every mile marker I passed, I kept checking my mirrors. I didn't see anyone following me, but I could feel eyes. Maybe it was paranoia, maybe it was intuition. But either way, I knew I wasn't driving alone. When I reached Grady Memorial, the parking lot was quiet. The early morning sky still gray. I slipped inside the side entrance, signed in, and made my way to Darnell's floor. The air smelled like antiseptic and sorrow. Room 304. The door was half open. I pushed it gently. "Darnell?" The bed was empty, sheets tossed, IV dangling, monitor unplugged. He was gone. A nurse walked in, startled to see me. "Ma'am, you can't be in here. Where is he?" I demanded. "My brother, Darnell, Reed. He was here last night." She flipped through her clipboard. "I'm sorry, but he was transferred early this morning." "Transferred? To where?" "Paperwork says discharged to family. Signed by you." My stomach dropped. "That's impossible. I didn't sign anything." The nurse frowned, checking the file. "Says here the person had your ID." My knees weakened. Someone had used my identity to take him. I stumbled into the hallway, my pulse pounding. I called Harris again, my breath ragged. "He's gone. They took him. They used my name." He cursed under his breath. "Maya, listen carefully. Whoever's doing this, they're trying to make you part of whatever he got into. You need to get out of that hospital now." But before I could respond, someone called my name. "Maya." I turned. A man in a dark suit and glasses was walking briskly toward me, mid-50s, clean-shaven, no hospital badge. "Who are you?" I asked, stepping back. "I'm with the U.S. Marshal Service," he said, flashing an ID. "We need to talk." His tone wasn't gentle. It wasn't kind. It was sharp, official. "About what?" "Your brother. And the $73,500 you sent him last year." I froze. "What about it?" He lowered his voice. "That money was funneled through a company that's under investigation for money laundering and illegal shipping operations.
We believe Darnell's disappearance is tied to that network. My head spun. Money laundering? Shipping? That wasn't just a scam. That was a crime ring. I didn't know, I whispered. I thought he was starting a business. He nodded grimly. That's what they all say. They all? He sighed. You're not the first family he's used. We've been tracking him for over a year. My heart sunk. So he lied to all of us? It looks that way. I wanted to scream, cry, run, all at once. The agent continued. We believe your brother might have taken something that belonged to the people he worked for, and now they think you know where it is. What? I don't know anything. I believe you. But they don't. Right then, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. The agent glanced at it. Don't answer. But I did. My hands were shaking as I pressed the phone to my ear. A male voice, deep, calm. You shouldn't have come here, Maya. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Who is this? Silence. Then, if you want your brother to live, you'll do exactly what I say. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my entire body trembling. The marshal grabbed my arm. We need to move you somewhere safe now. As we rushed toward the exit, I could barely think. All I could hear was that voice. Cold, confident, certain. And beneath the fear, one thought burned through me like fire. Whatever Darnell had taken, whatever he'd done, I was now in it, whether I wanted to or not. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I wasn't sure who I was trying to save anymore, my brother or myself.
The car ride to the safe location was silent, except for the hum of the highway. I sat in the back seat of the black SUV, staring out the window, watching the city blur by like a memory I was leaving behind. The man who called himself Marshall Tate drove without looking at me. His partner, a younger woman with tight curls pulled into a bun, sat in the passenger seat typing something on a tablet. The whole time I held my phone in my lap, that last message still open like a wound. If you want your brother to live, you'll do exactly what I say. Those words looped in my mind over and over until they didn't sound like words anymore, just noise. Fear turned into rhythm. We pulled off the main road and onto a narrow gravel path that wound through a patch of trees. At the end sat a small cabin, gray, quiet, forgotten by time. This is where you'll stay until we figure out what's going on, Marshall Tate said. Inside, it smelled of pine and dust. There was a couch, a small kitchen, and a single window facing the woods. I set my bag down slowly, scanning every shadow. The young agent, whose badge read S. Lewis, handed me a cup of water. We'll be just outside. No phones, no visitors. If you need anything, knock on the window twice. I nodded. My throat was too tight to speak. After they left, the silence pressed on me like a blanket. I walked to the window, parting the curtain just enough to see their vehicle parked at the end of the path, lights off, watching. For hours, I just sat there. The sun fell, the woods darkened, and I thought about everything that had led to this. Darnell, the money, the lies. I used to think betrayal came in one clean cut. Sharp, fast, over. But this felt like dying from 1,000 paper cuts, slow and invisible. At around midnight, the cabin phone rang. I jumped. It rang again. I hesitated before picking up. Hello? Maya. It was him. That same calm, deep voice from before. What do you want? I whispered, glancing toward the window. I want what your brother took. I told you I don't know what that is. Then find it, or you'll never see him again. I felt my breath catch. He's alive? For now. What did he take from you? A pause. Then softly, $73,000 was just the surface. He stole something worth far more. A drive with names, routes, numbers. You'll find it, or you'll lose him for good. The line went dead. I stood there, shaking, the receiver still pressed to my ear long after the dial tone began. When I told Marshall Tate what happened, he cursed under his breath. We thought it might come to this. Come to what? He looked at Agent Lewis. She gave a small nod, then he turned back to me. Your brother wasn't running a trucking business. He was using the money you gave him to move illegal shipments, weapons maybe, drugs, maybe worse. But apparently, he double-crossed the people running it. I sank into the couch, my chest hollow. No, he wouldn't. He would, Tate interrupted firmly. We've seen his records. He set up dummy companies, used your name on one of the bank accounts, then vanished when the ring started falling apart. I stared at him, feeling like the floor was dissolving beneath me. So they think I have whatever he took? Yes.
Tate said grimly. And that makes you a target. I buried my face in my hands. God, I just wanted to help my brother. Lewis's tone softened. We know, and we'll do everything we can to keep you safe. But if there's anything you remember, anything he said, anywhere he kept things, now's the time to tell us. I thought back to that day he came by with his duffel bag, that hug before he left, how his cologne mixed with the smell of diesel and cigarettes. He'd said something strange then, almost like a joke. Sis, you always keep things safe. That's why I trust you. At the time, I thought he meant his future. But now, wait, I whispered. My old storage locker. He borrowed my key a few months before he disappeared. Tate's eyes narrowed. You still have access? Yes. It's in my name. He stood. We're going. Tonight. We drove through the empty streets, headlights cutting through the darkness. My hands trembled the whole time. I kept thinking, what if this was all for nothing? What if I was walking straight into a trap? The storage facility sat on the edge of town. Rows of metal doors, each one identical. I led them to locker 117. The padlock was new, shiny, too new. Tate nodded to Lewis. Be ready. He snapped the lock with bolt cutters, and the door rolled up with a heavy groan. Inside were boxes, a few old photo albums, an extra tire, some of Malik's baby clothes. But in the corner sat a black metal case, like something out of a spy movie. Lewis stepped forward, gloves on, and opened it carefully. Inside were stacks of papers, shipping manifests, names, account numbers, and a single silver flash drive taped under the lid. Tate exhaled. That's it. That's what they want. I stared at it numb. He hid it here? Using my name? Looks like it, Tate said. But now it's in our hands, and you just became our key witness. Before I could reply, the lights above us flickered once, twice, then went out completely. The sound of tires screeching filled the air. Lewis grabbed my arm. We have to move. Gunshots. The first shattered a side window. The second hit the metal door beside me, sparking. Down! Tate shouted. He pushed me behind a stack of boxes as bullets tore through the lockers. I covered my head, heart pounding so hard it drowned out the noise. And over the chaos, I heard it, a voice echoing from the darkness outside. Give us the drive, Maya, and nobody else gets hurt. I froze. They knew my name.
The echo of those words, give us the drive, Maya, froze every muscle in my body. Hearing my name out there in the dark was like being touched by something invisible. Marshal Tate motioned for me to stay low. Lewis, cover the west exit, he hissed. We've got multiple shooters. The warehouse was pitch black, except for the faint glow of moonlight seeping through the bullet holes. I could hear my heartbeat thudding in my ears. Fast, desperate. My hands pressed against the cold concrete, palms sweating. The metallic tang of gunpowder stung the back of my throat. Somewhere behind the row of lockers, someone's boots crunched on gravel. Slow, deliberate. They're inside, Lewis whispered. Stay calm, Tate said. Maya, whatever happens, do not move. But I couldn't stop shaking. I'd never been that close to death before. Never heard bullets whistle through the air like angry bees. Every sound was amplified. Every second stretched into eternity. Then a crash. The back window shattered. A man's silhouette slipped through, holding something long and glinting. Lewis fired first. The flash lit up the room like lightning. Go. Tate grabbed my arm and pulled me toward a side door. Run, now. We sprinted down the corridor between the storage units. My lungs burned. The air reeked of oil and fear. Behind us, gunfire erupted again. Metal slamming, glass breaking. Keep your head down, Tate shouted. We burst through a side exit into the alley behind the building. My breath came in ragged gasps as we crouched behind a dumpster. Lewis emerged seconds later, her sleeve torn, blood streaking her forearm. They've got night vision. They're trained, not street thugs. Marshal Tate's jaw clenched. Then we're out of time. He turned to me. Do you have the drive? I blinked. No, it's still in the case. He cursed under his breath. Stay here. No, I grabbed his arm. You can't go back in there. Maya, if they get that drive, they'll hunt you for the rest of your life. Before I could argue, he was gone, disappearing into the dark like smoke.
Lewis pressed her hand against her wound. He's right. That drive has everything. Bank routes, aliases, offshore accounts. Whoever's behind this, they'd kill a dozen people just to erase it. I crouched beside her, trying to steady my breathing. What happens if they already got it? She looked at me, her voice barely above a whisper. Then it's not just your brother in danger. It's everyone whose name is on that drive. Seconds stretched into minutes. Every sound made me flinch. Somewhere far off, sirens wailed, faint, but growing closer. Then another gunshot, this one closer, followed by a thud. My stomach dropped. "Tate?" Lewis called into her radio. "Marshal Tate, do you copy?" No response. She stood, gun raised. "Stay down." I ignored her. I couldn't just hide while someone else bled from my brother's mess. I followed her to the loading dock, every step heavy with dread. We entered through a broken side door, glass crunching beneath our feet. The interior was dark, except for flickering emergency lights. The metallic smell of blood mixed with the faint whir of a dying generator. "Tate?" Lewis called again. A low groan answered. He was on the floor near locker 117, shoulder bleeding, gun beside him. The black case was open next to him. Empty. "It's gone," he rasped. "They took it." Lewis dropped beside him, pressing pressure to the wound. "You're going to be fine, sir. Just stay with me." He grabbed her wrist weakly. "You have to move her. They'll come for her next." "I'm not leaving you," she said firmly. Tate's gaze turned to me. "Maya, listen to me." Darnell wasn't lying when he said he was trying to start a business, but he didn't know what he was really hauling. When he found out, he stole that drive to protect you. I shook my head. "Protect me from what?" He coughed, grimacing. "They used your name on everything. The shell accounts, the trucks, even the insurance. On paper, you're the one running the ring. If they expose that, you'll go down with them." The room tilted around me. "Oh my God. He took the drive to prove your innocence," Tate said. But they caught him before he could hand it over. Lewis's radio crackled. "All units, suspects fleeing northbound towards Interstate 20. The help is coming," she said quickly. Tate grabbed her wrist again. "No, they'll circle back. You need to move her now." Lewis looked at me. "Let's go." I hesitated, tears burning behind my eyes. "What about him?" "I'll cover you," Tate muttered. "Go, Maya. Don't waste what your brother tried to save." Lewis pulled me through a side corridor and out a back door that opened into the woods. The air was thick with the smell of rain and gun smoke. We ran until my lungs screamed, stumbling through mud and branches. Finally, we reached a clearing where an unmarked SUV waited. She shoved me inside. Head down. As we sped off, I looked out the back window. The warehouse was just a blur of flashing lights and chaos, sirens, shadows, and fire. My heart twisted. Darnell's sins had dragged us both into this, but I couldn't ignore what Tate had said. He stole the drive to protect me. Lewis glanced at me. "We'll get him back, Maya. We'll find out who's behind this." I stared straight ahead. "No," I said quietly. "I will." She frowned. "What are you talking about? If they think I'm just a scared woman hiding, they're wrong. I lost my savings, my job, my home, but I'm done losing. They want the truth? I'll find it first." Lewis started to speak, but before she could, my phone buzzed again, though I hadn't touched it in hours. One new message. No number, just a name. "Maya, it's me. Don't trust the marshals. They're not who they say they are." Attached was a blurry selfie. Darnell, alive. My breath caught. My mind screamed. If Darnell was sending that message, then who was I really running from?
The car's hum was the only sound between us. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, streaking the windows in silver veins. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. "Maya, it's me. Don't trust the marshals. They're not who they say they are." Darnell's face stared back at me, blurry, bloodied, eyes wide like he was speaking from a place of pure fear. The message timestamp? 11:47 p.m. I checked the clock on the dashboard. 11:51. It had come minutes ago. "Lewis?" My voice shook. "He's alive." She glanced at me, frowning. "What?" I held the phone toward her, but the second she looked at it, the screen went black. "Wait!" I tapped it again, but the message had vanished. Deleted, not archived, gone. Lewis snatched the phone. "Where'd you get that?" "It just came through." She studied the blank screen, jaw tightening. "There's nothing here, Maya." I reached for it, panic rising. "It was there. He said not to trust you. He said, "Maya," she said firmly, her tone switching to something colder. "You've been through hell tonight. You're scared, you're tired, and your mind's playing tricks on you. Let's not make this worse, okay?" Her words crawled under my skin, the kind of calm that felt practiced. I turned my gaze out the window, heart racing. Streetlights blurred past, empty highways, industrial lots, then nothing but dark countryside. "Where are we going?" I asked. "To a safe house, until we regroup." "Where's Tate?" She hesitated a beat too long. "He'll meet us there." Something in her voice cracked the air like a whisper of truth she didn't want to tell. I sat back, gripping the seatbelt like it was the only real thing in the world. My mind ran wild. If Darnell sent that message just minutes ago, then the people who shot up the warehouse weren't trying to kill him. They were trying to stop him from talking. And if he warned me not to trust the marshals, my phone buzzed again. I glanced down. No number, just a single file attachment. Lewis noticed. "Who's that?" Before she could grab it, I opened it. It was a video. Darnell again. This time, whispering into the camera. Behind him, I saw the same warehouse from earlier, but it was daylight. He looked terrified. "Maya, if you see this, they already got me. The drive, it's not about money. It's proof. They're laundering through government contracts, people high up, even inside law enforcement. Tate's not one of them, but his partner." The video froze. Then the screen went red. File corrupted. Lewis yanked the phone from my hands. "Where did you get that? Give it back!" Her voice snapped. "Who sent it to you?" I stared at her. "Do you think I know?" She didn't answer. She tossed the phone out the window. It shattered on the asphalt behind us. My jaw dropped. "What the hell did you do that for?" She didn't answer, just tightened her grip on the steering wheel. That silence, the heavy kind, thick with things not being said, told me everything I needed to know. Lewis wasn't driving me to a safe house. She was delivering me. I slowly reached into my jacket pocket, fingers brushing against the small silver flash drive I'd hidden there hours ago. The backup copy Tate didn't know I'd made when he was distracted. If Lewis was dirty, I couldn't let her know I still had it. I looked out the window, pretending to calm myself. "You're right. I'm tired. I just need to rest." She exhaled, easing the car back into a steady speed. "That's all I'm trying to do. Keep you safe." But she didn't see the exit sign up ahead, the one I was watching closely. "Can we stop for a restroom, please? I need a moment." Lewis sighed, reluctant. 2 minutes. We pulled into a dimly lit gas station, surrounded by fog and silence. She stayed in the car, engine running, eyes on the mirror. I walked toward the restroom, and once I was out of sight, I sprinted. My shoes pounded on gravel. I cut behind the store, climbed a low fence, and ducked into the woods. My lungs screamed, but I didn't stop. After a few hundred yards, I found a narrow service road. Headlights approached from the other direction. A pickup slowed, the driver rolling down his window. "You okay, ma'am?" I hesitated, out of breath. "Please, can you take me into town? My car broke down." He nodded. "Hop in." I climbed into the passenger seat, trying not to shake. As we pulled onto the road, I saw Lewis's black SUV tearing out of the station, lights sweeping the trees. "Everything all right?" he asked. I forced a weak smile. "Yeah, just a long night." He nodded, eyes on the road. "Where are you headed?" I murmured, "Somewhere safe." When I finally leaned back, I felt the flash drive pressing against my palm, warm from my grip. Darnell's words echoed in my head. Don't trust them. If what he said was true, this went way deeper than I ever imagined. And now, I was carrying proof that could destroy the people running it. I looked out the window, the night swallowing the highway, and whispered to myself, "Hang on, Darnell, I'm coming for you." But as the truck rolled into town, I didn't notice the small black sedan following us from 2 cars behind. Its headlights dimmed. Its driver lifted a phone to his ear. Target located. Proceeding to containment. The call disconnected. And just like that, the hunter became the hunted. The truck's heater hissed softly, its glow painting the dashboard an amber light. My pulse was still erratic from the escape, but I forced myself to breathe evenly. The man driving said his name was Earl, mid-50s, wiry frame, eyes kind but watchful, the kind of stranger who seemed safe only because the night offered no better options. "You sure you're all right, miss?" he asked, glancing sideways. I nodded, rubbing my arms. Just needed to get away for a bit. He gave a slow whistle. Whole lot of folks running from something these days. The road outside was empty, stretching into a ribbon of shadow and fog. The small town lights glimmered faintly ahead like a promise I didn't believe in. My phone was gone. My brother was missing, and the one federal agent I thought I could trust had just tried to deliver me into something darker than betrayal. I pressed the small flash drive tighter in my palm. It felt like the last heartbeat of the life I'd lost. We turned past an old Welcome to Collins Creek sign, its paint peeling. The kind of place where secrets could hide for decades. Earl slowed at a stoplight and asked, "Got family here?" "Not anymore," I said quietly. He nodded, didn't pry further. Maybe he saw enough hurt in my voice to know when to leave a wound alone. Then in the side mirror, a pair of headlights appeared, faint but steady. At first I thought it was nothing, just another driver. But when we turned right, they turned right. When we slowed, they slowed. My throat went dry. "Earl, that car behind us, has it been there long?" He looked in the mirror, squinting. "Yeah, a little black sedan. You know him?" "No," I whispered. He rubbed his chin. "All right, hold tight." He made a sudden left down a narrow residential road, then another. The sedan followed. "Guess we got ourselves a tail," he said, voice low but calm. "You want to tell me what's going on?" I could have lied, but the truth tumbled out before I could stop it. Someone stole $73,000 from me, my brother. Then people started dying, and now someone's trying to make sure I disappear too. Earl blinked. "Lady, you're in some deep mess." The sedan's high beams flashed once, then twice. Earl slammed the gas. The truck roared down a side street. I clutched the dash as the wind screamed past. The sedan sped up, closing distance fast. "They're going to ram us!" I shouted. "Not if I can help it." We hit a sharp curve, tires skidding over wet gravel. The truck fishtailed, but Earl steadied it. Ahead, a bridge arched over the old riverbed. Half the lights were out. Earl's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "Hold on." We shot across the bridge. Behind us, the sedan followed, until a black shape appeared at the far end, blocking the road. Another car. Two of them. Earl cursed. "They're boxing us in." Without warning, he veered hard right, through the railing. The world tilted sideways. The truck slammed into the embankment below, jolting us like rag dolls. Steam hissed from the hood. My vision blurred, ears ringing. Earl groaned beside me, clutching his shoulder. "Go," he rasped. "Get out, now." I fumbled with the seatbelt, kicked the door open, and stumbled into the mud. My knees buckled, but adrenaline dragged me forward. I scrambled toward the dark trees. Behind me, I heard doors slam and men shouting, "Find her!" One yelled. Their flashlights sliced through the fog like searchlights. I ducked behind an overturned log, gasping quietly. My fingers brushed the flash drive. Still there. My only proof, my only weapon. Voices grew closer. "She can't get far," another said. "We need that drive." They knew. Every instinct screamed, "Run!" But I waited, counting the seconds until their beams swept the other direction. Then I bolted deeper into the woods, branches clawing my face. After what felt like miles, the forest opened to a small clearing with an abandoned gas station. Rusted pumps, broken glass, silence thick as grief. I slipped inside through a shattered door, crouched behind an old counter, and tried to catch my breath. The quiet was worse than the chase. It made space for thoughts. Darnell's last message, Tate's warnings, Lewis's cold stare. Pieces clicked together like broken glass finding their edges. This wasn't just about stolen money. Darnell had stumbled into something massive, a shell company using government contracts to wash dirty cash through small black-owned trucking businesses. He must have copied records, accounts, transactions, proof of corruption. And they'd used me as cover, the naive sister funding a business. A metallic creak echoed from outside. My body froze. Footsteps. I peered through a crack in the wall. The man from the black sedan stepped into the doorway. Tall, broad-shouldered, a gun drawn low at his side. His face was half hidden by the glow of a flashlight, but his voice was calm, almost gentle. "Maya, you don't know what you're holding. Give me the drive and this ends tonight." My breath caught. "Who are you?" He stepped closer. "Someone trying to save you from yourself." I gripped the flash drive tighter. "Then tell me what happened to my brother." His silence was answer enough. I turned, heart pounding, and crawled toward the back exit. My hand brushed against a rusted metal pipe on the floor. I gripped it tight. The man's flashlight beam swung toward me. "Don't make this harder." I swung the pipe as he rounded the counter. It connected with a sickening thud. He dropped the flashlight, and I ran. Out the back, into the wet grass, lungs burning. I didn't stop until I reached the edge of the woods again, where a road glimmered under the dim moonlight. A neon motel sign flickered in the distance. I stumbled toward the office door. An older woman looked up from behind the counter. "Rough night, baby?"
she asked softly. I nodded. I just need a room. Cash only. She slid a key across without question. Room 6. End of the hall. Inside, I locked every bolt, sank onto the bed, and stared at the ceiling. My reflection in the cracked mirror looked nothing like the woman who once believed family meant safety. The flash drive gleamed faintly in my hand. I plugged it into the room's old laptop, and a folder appeared. Dozens of files, contracts, wire transfers, and one labeled Tate. When I opened it, my breath hitched. Video file. Timestamped 2 weeks before Darnell vanished. Tate's face appeared on screen, talking to someone off camera. His voice was low, tense. She doesn't know anything. Keep it that way. Once Darnell's gone, we can close the loop. My stomach dropped. Tate, the one who'd said he was protecting me, was in on it. Outside, an engine idled. Headlights flooded through the window blinds. I crawled toward the light, heart hammering, and saw the unmistakable shape of another black sedan. And this time, Tate stepped out.
The hum of the motel's neon sign buzzed like static through my bones. I crouched below the window, breath shallow, eyes fixed on Tate stepping out of the black sedan. He looked different now. No badge, no calm protector smile. Just a man with shadows behind his eyes, scanning the parking lot with a gun drawn low. The man I once trusted to save me had come to finish the job. I backed away from the window slowly, my pulse pounding so loud it drowned the world. My mind screamed 1,000 thoughts at once. Run, hide, fight. But where could I go? I clutched the flash drive tighter, feeling its cold edges bite into my palm. That tiny piece of metal held everything. Darnell's last attempt at redemption, the proof of what they'd done. The reason they wanted me gone. I glanced toward the door. The thin chain lock trembled from the vibration of footsteps outside. Maya? His voice was quiet, almost pleading. Open up, please. I froze. He wasn't kicking it in. He wasn't shouting. He sounded almost human again. Don't make this harder than it has to be, he said softly. I swear I'm trying to help you. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced words out. You lied to me. You lied about everything. You killed my brother, didn't you? There was a pause, long enough for my tears to start burning. Then his voice cracked through the silence. No, Maya, I tried to save him. Something in his tone made me hesitate. He continued, lower now, like every word hurt. Darnell wasn't supposed to take the money. It was just supposed to be a name on a list, someone to make it look clean. But when he found out who was really behind the operation, he panicked. They went after him before I could get him out. My throat tightened. You're lying. I wish I was. He took a slow breath. Darnell didn't die that night. They're keeping him in a safe house up north. But if you don't give me that drive, they'll kill him for real this time, and me along with him. The floor felt like it tilted beneath me. My knees weakened, my back pressing against the wall. You expect me to believe that? Check the file. Folder labeled locations. You'll see I'm telling the truth. I looked at the laptop on the bed, screen still glowing. That folder was there. My fingers trembled over the trackpad. One click showed a map, coordinates. The image was grainy, but there it was. Upstate New York, Red Creek Compound. Darnell's name was listed beside it. My breath caught. Could it be real? Before I could think more, the doorknob rattled. Maya, we're out of time, Tate said. Others are coming. Please, trust me once. Just once more. I backed toward the bathroom, heart racing. Trust you? You've lied since the moment you walked into my life. His footsteps stopped. Then a new sound. Tires screeching outside. More engines. Tate cursed under his breath. They found us. Gunfire erupted. The window shattered. I ducked instinctively, glass raining down like glittering knives. Tate dove behind a car, returning fire toward the street. Maya, run! He yelled. I didn't think. I just grabbed the flash drive and bolted through the bathroom window. Cold air hit me like a slap. I landed hard in the mud behind the motel, scrambled to my feet and sprinted toward the trees. My bare arms burned from cuts. My lungs clawed for air, but I kept running. Behind me, I heard Tate shouting, not at me, but at them. The gunfire grew louder. Closer. Then silence. I didn't look back. Branches whipped my face as I stumbled through the dark, guided only by the flickering glow of the neon sign fading behind me. Every step felt like wading through molasses. Slow, heavy.
desperate. Finally, I collapsed near a drainage ditch, heart pounding, gasping for air. Was Darnell really alive? Or was it another manipulation? One last cruel trick to break me? I looked down at the flash drive, now smeared with mud and blood. Somewhere inside that data was the truth. About the money, about Tate, about Darnell. And maybe about me. My mind flashed back to that last day with Darnell before he vanished. The way he hugged me too tightly. The way he whispered, "I'll make it right this time." What did he mean this time? A distant explosion rocked the air. The motel maybe. Flames lit the treetops faintly orange. Tate was either dead or still fighting. Either way, there was no going back. I crawled toward the road, spotted a lone pickup approaching and waved it down. The driver, a middle-aged woman with a scarf around her head, slowed and rolled down the window. "Lord, honey, you look like you've been through war," she said. "Something like that," I panted. "Can you take me to a bus station anywhere?" She nodded. "Hop in." As we drove off, I glanced one last time at the burning horizon behind us. That motel was the graveyard of every lie I'd believed. The woman beside me hummed softly to an old gospel tune on the radio. For a moment, the sound steadied my shaking hands. I looked at the window and whispered, "Hold on, Darnell. I'm coming." The driver glanced over. "You got family in trouble, baby?" I smiled weakly, tears finally spilling down. "Yeah, but I'm done being the victim. This time, I'm the one coming to set them free." The road stretched ahead, long, endless, full of ghosts and truth waiting in the dark. The woman reached over, squeezed my hand, and said, "Keep your faith, sweetheart. God don't forget the ones who fight with love in their heart." Her words settled over me like a prayer. I closed my eyes, clutching the flash drive to my chest, whispering a vow into the hum of the tires in the darkness ahead. "I'll find the truth, and I'll make them pay. All of them."
The morning light came in cold and pale through the dusty windows of the bus. I hadn't slept. Every sound, the wheels, the murmurs of strangers, the creak of the seats, felt distant, like the world was still moving while I hovered somewhere between nightmare and waking. I held the flash drive in my hand the entire ride north. It was small, but it carried the weight of my entire past. The betrayal, the loss, the brother I still didn't know if I'd ever see again. When the driver announced Red Creek, last stop, my heart clenched. Outside the town was quiet. Too quiet. Rows of shuttered storefronts, an old diner, a gas station that hadn't been repainted in years. Beyond it all, in the distance, the forest stretched thick and endless. Somewhere in there, according to the map on the drive, was the compound. I rented a bike from a dusty shop, rode along the old service road, and prayed I was strong enough for whatever I was about to find. After 3 miles, I saw it. A faded chain-link fence, half collapsed, and behind it, a cluster of concrete buildings. No guards, no lights, just silence. My chest tightened as I pushed the gate open. It creaked like it hadn't been touched in years. Inside one of the small buildings, I found a desk covered in old files, a broken laptop, and the faint smell of mold. I set my flash drive down, plugged it into a working outlet, and waited as the screen flickered to life. The files began loading. Transactions, contracts, offshore accounts, every piece of the dirty empire Darnell had uncovered. My eyes skimmed name after name. Local officials, business owners, law enforcement. Then I saw it. Tate Williams, beneficiary account, $2.4 million. My stomach dropped. He'd been part of it from the start. His investigation, his protection, all of it a performance. He'd used me to clean his own hands while framing Darnell as the one who stole from the operation. And still, through all that, my brother had tried to protect me. A sound echoed behind me. Footsteps. I turned, and there he was. Darnell. Older, thinner, bruised but alive. His beard had grown in patchy, his eyes heavy with the guilt I could feel before he said a word. "Maya, you shouldn't have come." I stood frozen for a heartbeat before I ran to him, tears spilling as I wrapped my arms around his shoulders. "I thought you were dead," I choked. He pulled back, looking down at me with that same big brother look he used to give when I scraped my knees as a kid. "You should have stayed gone." "What are you talking about? I came all this way to bring you home." He shook his head slowly. "There is no home, sis. They used my name, my accounts.
I took that loan thinking I could flip it into something good, but when I found out what Tate and the others were doing, how deep it went, they decided I was a liability. They came for me. Only reason I'm alive is because I handed them part of the evidence. But you left me to take the fall, I said, my voice breaking. You left me broke, homeless, scared. His face twisted in pain. I know, and I hate myself for it every day, but I thought if I stayed gone, they'd stop looking for you. I stared at him, tears burning hot. Do you have any idea what that did to me? He nodded. Yeah, and that's why I need you to do what I couldn't. He pointed at the screen, the file still open. Take this to the press. Get it out before they bury it again. Before I could answer, the sound of engines roared outside. Black SUVs. Tate's voice boomed from a loudspeaker. Maya, come out and we'll let him live. Darnell grabbed my wrist. You have to go now. I'm not leaving you again, I said, shaking my head. Maya, listen. He shoved a piece of paper into my hand, a number scribbled in pen. It's a reporter. He's clean. He's waiting for the files. Gunfire ripped through the silence, shattering the windows. We ducked behind the desk. Darnell fired back, an old revolver shaking in his grip. Run! You still got something worth saving. The last thing I saw before I bolted through the back door was my brother, standing his ground, firing toward the headlights as bullets tore through the building. I ran until my lungs screamed, until the world was nothing but dirt and tears and the sound of my heart pounding like a war drum. When I finally collapsed at the edge of the road, I turned back. Smoke billowed over the trees. I knew what that meant. He was gone, for real this time. 2 days later, I walked into the newsroom of the New York Ledger with trembling hands and a flash drive clutched tight. I gave it to the reporter Darnell had trusted. He didn't ask many questions, just nodded and said, "We'll take it from here." A week after that, the headlines exploded. Federal fraud ring exposed, 12 arrested in massive trucking scam. Tate's face was among them. The story ran for days. But when the noise faded, I was just Maya again, a woman with no savings, no job, no brother, sitting in a small rented room with the kind of silence that feels heavy but clean. One evening, I walked down to the pier and watched the sunset melt into the water. I thought about all the years I spent trusting the wrong people, carrying the wrong guilt. For once, I didn't feel like a victim. I whispered, "You kept your promise, Darnell. You made it right." A soft breeze brushed my cheek, and I could almost hear his voice. "You did too, sis." I closed my eyes, tears falling freely this time, but they weren't heavy. They were release. I took a deep breath and smiled at the horizon, scarred, tired, but free. And then, in my heart, I spoke to the world, to the women who might see themselves in my story. If you learned something new from my life story, please like this video, subscribe for more stories like mine, and comment down below where you're watching this video from. I'd truly love to know. The wind carried my words out over the water, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. Because sometimes redemption doesn't come in the form of justice. It comes when you finally choose to heal.